Welcome to the deep dive. We pull out the key insights from a whole stack of sources, really giving you that shortcut to getting up to speed.
And today, we're jumping into something, well, pretty bizarre. A really personal legal fight involving Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France.
Yeah, it's Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron. They're actually suing a well-known American influencer.
And the core claim, this was fascinating, it's not really about policy and not politics as usual.
Yeah.
The influencer is claiming Brigitte Macron is actually a man, born as her brother, Jean-Michel,
Wow.
and that she had gender reassignment surgery.
Right.
Basically, the idea is she's deceived the entire world, her husband included.
That's an incredible accusation. So our deep dive today, we're going to unpack where this, frankly, wild conspiracy theory even started. We'll follow its path through the French courts and then, how it jumped across the Atlantic to the U.S.
Right.
And we'll explore why such a personal, kind of outlandish attack matters so much to the president of France, to his credibility.
Because it's more than just a weird rumor, isn't it? It gets into disinformation and, well, the real impact that stuff can have.
Exactly. So let's trace this back. Where did it begin?
Okay, so the claim itself, the incendiary part, is very specific. It's that Brigitte Macron is actually a man named Jean-Michel.
Who is her real brother?
Who is her real brother, exactly.
Yeah.
The theory goes she transitioned, decades ago and has been living as a woman ever since.
Okay, so where does a story like that, where does it come from? Did it start in the U.S.?
No, surprisingly,
That-
its roots are very much in France. It first surfaced online there.
Spread by who?
Apparently, two women. One described as a sort of self-proclaimed journalist, the other a spiritual medium. They're the ones who initially put this out there.
A journalist and a medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, well, as you probably expect, Brigitte Macron and her brother Jean-Michel, they reacted pretty quickly.
They sued them.
They sued them in France
Yeah.
for defamation. And initially, they won. The court convicted the two women, ordered them to pay damages.
Okay, so case closed.
Well, no. This is where the French legal system throws in a really surprising twist. It highlights a big difference in how they handle these kinds of claims.
What happened?
Just earlier this month, actually, in a higher court, on appeal, those two women were acquitted.
Acquitted. So the court decided the story was true.
No, not at all. That's the crucial part. They weren't acquitted because the court believed the story.
Okay.
They were acquitted based on a very specific point of French law. It basically says that accusing someone of being transgender, while it could potentially lead to a civil suit for damages.
Right, seeking money.
Exactly.
Ah.
But it's explicitly not considered a criminal offense.
So they couldn't face criminal charges like jail time just for making that specific claim?
Precisely. It's a really important legal nuance over there. It doesn't mean the claim is okay, but it changes the legal framework compared to, say, a straightforward defamation case about something else.
That's fascinating. So that specific legal angle is key context. Okay, so with that French background, the story then somehow makes its way over to the U.S.
Yes. And this is where Candace Owens comes in. She's a pretty prominent American conservative commentator and influencer, a big online following.
Right, known figure. And what does she do?
Well, she essentially just repeated the exact same claims, the ones that started in France that had already been through the French court.
The unsubstantiated ones?
The unsubstantiated ones, yeah. She brought them to her, much larger American audience.
And that's why the Macrons are now suing her, Candace Owens, in the U.S.
That's exactly it. So now this issue, which started entirely in France, is playing out on the American legal stage. Adds a whole new layer, really.
It's easy to just hear this and think, what a bizarre online rumor. Why even give it oxygen?
Right.
But the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, he's obviously taking this very seriously, investing time, resources into this U.S. lawsuit. Why? What makes this hit so hard for them?
Well, sources say it is a genuinely very painful issue for them personally. You have to remember, their relationship has always been under this intense microscope. The age difference, primarily.
Right, she was his teacher.
She was his teacher. She was already married, had 3 kids, left her husband for him. That whole history means their private life is constantly dissected.
Which makes them maybe more vulnerable to these kinds of personal attacks.
It certainly seems that way. But here's where it gets really concerning, beyond the personal pain.
Okay.
These specific rumors, this exact narrative, are apparently being actively used in Russian propaganda efforts.
Seriously, Russian propaganda is using this story.
Yes. It might seem like just a weird attack on the First Lady, but the aim is, reportedly, to directly undermine Emmanuel Macron's credibility as president.
No. Wow. So his private life, or rather attacks on his private life, suddenly become a tool of international political maneuvering. It actually does matter.
It absolutely matters in that context. It's being weaponized to cast doubt on him, on his standing, particularly on the world stage.
So how does this play out in France itself? I mean, how do regular French people react to this?
That's another interesting layer. Reports suggest many French people kind of laugh it off. They find it absurd.
Maybe that traditional French separation of private life and public office?
Perhaps. There might be an element of that.
Yeah.
But for Macron's political opponents, even if they don't believe it, it's seen as, a nice maneuver.
Meaning?
A cynical way to sort of chip away at his image, maybe plant seeds of doubt, without having to actually endorse the crazy story itself.
Subtle undermining. Okay, so what does this mean for the legal fight now in the U.S.? You've got that French ruling saying accusing someone of being trans isn't criminal.
Right.
Does that carry over? Will that same logic apply in the American lawsuit against Candace Owens?
Well, that's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? The U.S. legal system works differently.
Especially with public figures.
Exactly. Defamation cases involving public figures in the U.S. usually have a very high bar. You often have to prove actual malice, meaning the person knew it was false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth.
Which is notoriously hard to prove.
Very hard.
Yeah.
So the outcome in the U.S. could absolutely be different from what happened in France. It's going to be a closely watched case, for sure. Likely expensive, too.
And just to underscore how persistent these kinds of campaigns are, Brigitte Macron has 3 children.
Yeah, a fairly significant biological counterpoint, you'd think.
You would think it would be very difficult, biologically speaking, if the core claim were true.
But get this, the conspiracy theorists, they have an answer for that, too. They just claim the children aren't biologically hers.
Unbelievable. They just move the goalposts.
It really shows you the lengths these disinformation campaigns will go to. Logic doesn't really factor in.
So, okay, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, listening? This really strange case, it's clearly not just about some wacky rumor.
No, it's this complex knot, isn't it? It ties together legal definitions, what counts as defamation, what's criminal versus civil, with the way disinformation spreads like wildfire online.
And how it gets weaponized. How these deeply personal attacks become actual tools in political fights, even international ones.
It's a pretty stark example of how attacks on personal credibility are used to undermine trust, not just in individuals, but potentially in institutions or leaders.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. In our world today, with information and disinformation spreading so fast, just consider how quickly something deeply personal, even something seemingly absurd, can be twisted and amplified into a tool, potentially even by state actors for propaganda.
And maybe think about what this ongoing fight, this transatlantic legal battle, tells us about the challenge of finding truth, or even just agreeing on basic facts in the world we live in now.